welcome to Tuesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. And today's puzzle is a rarity in that I'm not allowed to know the title of it. Mark has just sent me this. Apparently it's by the American maths teacher Rocky Rower. And the title Mark has given me is Spoilers in Title, whatever that means. And he says I'm only allowed to know the real title once I've finished the puzzle. So he sent me another email with a "do not open" as the subject line of the email. So I won't open it, but I am a bit intrigued about this. And you can see the puzzle looks absolutely impossible. It looks like normal Sudoku with some killer cages with no totals at all. Anyway, well, I'll read the rules in a moment. Maybe the title's something like, I don't know, row 1, column 7 is a 3 or something. Because otherwise, I'm not entirely sure how we are going to even start this. Anyway, before I read the rules, what do I need to tell you about? Do check out our new Killer Sudoku app. We keep talking about it because it is marvellous. It's out on all platforms and the reviews have been really, really gratifying. So I do recommend it to you. Also on Patreon, of course, if you're not familiar with what Patreon is, it's basically a site where we post extra videos, extra puzzles, extra solves, things like that throughout the course of every month. And the last few weeks, everyone has been busy trying this Sudoku hunt by Stefan Bura and Akash Jain, and it is absolutely superb. Tracking the Cryptid is its name, and 4 more solving successes overnight last night. So well done to Becky and Tom Lovell, to Risruk Habteb. Now that is not a name that trips off my tongue, at least. It's sort of tangled it up more than tripped it off. But I hope I've said that correctly. Risruk Habteb. Beata Obrok. You're testing me today. And Darek Majewski. I can do the last one. So I apologise if I've mispronounced any of the names, but I do wholeheartedly commend your solving efforts. Anybody who gets through that Sudoku hunt is a very, very fine solver of Sudoku. That is for sure. Now, let's look at Rocky Rower's puzzle. What has he got going on this time? He's one of my favourite constructors and he is always original. So, normal Sudoku rules apply. Killer Sudoku rules apply. So, numbers cannot repeat in a cage. Cage totals must be deduced. Well, we can see that. None of the cage totals are given. The sum of all the cells in all the cages is 165. Well, that is not a number that rings any bells with me. But we're told that. That's it. So do have a go at this yourself. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. My first instinct here is that this... I'm not sure I understand how you're meant to solve this. Because without any actual digits at all, how on earth... Can we do something because the cages... There are some large cages in here. We've got... That's an 8-cell cage. That one's a 7-cell cage. That one is a 6, 5. We might have one of every cage size, I think, because we've got... What's that? Is that 9? Yes. This one is 9. So maybe we can do something with the 9-cell cage then, because... What do we know about a 9-cell cage? Well, given that you cannot repeat a digit in a cage, and given that a Sudoku contains exactly 9 different digits, knowledge bomb from Cracking the Cryptic, Sudokus can only contain the digits 1 through 9, so this cage here contains all of the digits from 1 to 9 exactly once each, and it therefore sums to 45. But we also know, of course, that this box contains the digits 1 to 9. So can we do something? Well, I'm thinking about these 3 cells, because these 3 cells, whatever number is in these 3 cells, those digits, whatever's in these yellow cells, has to appear somewhere in this box, but they can't repeat within the cage. So, for example, whatever is in that cell, it can't... Let's make that cell purple. It can't go in any of those cells because they're in the same cage. It can't go in this square because this square is in the same row. So it will have to go in one of those two positions. And therefore in one of these three positions. And that, to borrow an expression from a friend of mine, is about as useful as a chocolate teapot. This is not how to. This is impossible. Is this extra rule the way we have to do this? The sum of all the cells in all the cages is 165. The reason I'm wondering this is I don't understand how I can. I mean, even the 9-cell cage, which is the most restricted, in the sense it's the only cage where I know its composition, tells me nothing about the puzzle. So it must be something to do with 165. So. Well, I've got two thoughts about that. It's either possible 165 is the minimum total for all of the cages in the puzzle, or it's the maximum total. It feels like it's the minimum, but how do we rule out? Yes, it is the minimum. This is how I'm going to rule out it being the maximum. So we know that the 9-cell cage adds to 45. Well, if we're looking at maximum values, what would the 8-cell cage add up to? Well, it would contain all of the digits from 1 to 9 except 1. So we would know this cage sums to 44. The 7-cell cage could contain all of the digits apart from 1 and 2, so it would sum up to 42. The 6-cell cage would contain all the digits apart from 1, 2 and 3, so it would add up to 39. Now, that means those 4 cages add up to more than 160, and I've still got lots and lots of cages left to add in, so there is simply no way that the cages add up to a maximum. If they don't add up to a minimum either, I have no clue how to start this puzzle. So how do we work out what the minimum? So what we're going to have to do is add, well, I suppose the single cell would be a 1. This would be a 1 and a 2. This would be a 1, 2 and a 3. So it's triangular numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is there a... Ah, there is. There is. But it's a very long time since I knew what the formula was for the sum of triangular numbers. I knew this at one point in my life. Oh, this is knowledge that is no longer accessible by my brain. That is very depressing. Oh, I did this when I was at school. It's something. And the reason I remember this, there is something about proof by induction and triangular numbers. You can prove the equation for the sum of triangular numbers, and I know a number of you are shouting at me here, from using a proof by induction. And it was the first proof by induction I ever learnt or ever understood how induction works. And now I can't remember the blinking proof. I can't remember it. I'm not going to remember it. This is embarrassing. Oh, bobbins. So, is there another way we could work out? I mean, I could just add them all up. That probably wouldn't take too long. Is there any other way we can do this quickly? Can I? Oh, maybe I can use geometry. I can use snooker balls. That's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to use snooker balls on Sudoku. Because I'm not going to be able to show this, but what I'm thinking is when you set up a snooker table, you have to set up the reds in a triangle, which is not going to work here at all because these cages are not offset. So it wouldn't look like this sort of triangle. It would look like an equilateral triangle. But that means if I've got an equilateral triangle of reds, and then I took one row, the longest row of the reds out, then I would have the next smallest triangular number, and if I slotted them together, I would get a square. So two consecutive triangular numbers must sum to a square. That feels like it must be true. Now, feeling like it must be true and it being true, of course, are not quite the same things. But I think it is true. So, if that's right, then I can sum the 9 cage and the 8 cage by squaring 9. So we'll check this in a sec. So square of 9 is 81. So this would be a 45 cage. This would be 45 minus the 9, which would be 36. 36 and 45 is 81. So that works. Then the 7 cage and the 6 cage would be 28 plus 20. Yeah, so it's working. So, right. So the actual way, this is such a long-winded way of doing this. I should have just added it up. I apologise. But the way I'm going to sum all of the cages in this puzzle is to say they are 9 squared, which deals with those two, 7 squared, which deals with those two, 5 squared, which deals with those two, 3 squared, which deals with those two, and 1. So 9 squared plus 7 squared, that's 81 plus 49, that's 130, plus 25 is 155, plus 9 is 164, plus 1 is 165, and that has taken me an inordinate amount of time to add 9 digits together. But it does show that this is the correct way of thinking about the puzzle. We have to make everything in the puzzle as minimal as we can. In other words, when we look at any cage, we have to make it a minimum. So this cage has to just contain a 1. Another way of thinking about this is to think that the puzzle has to contain, or the cages have to contain 9 ones. They have to contain 8 twos, 7 threes, 6 fours, etc. So in order to contain 9 ones, this is going to be a 1. Now you can see we're actually going to get loads of digits here. This is a 1 and a 2. This cage has got to have a 1 in it. It's got to be there. The 2's got to be there. The 3's got to be there. Oh, this puzzle's going. It might collapse actually, because the 4 cage, look, is just given now. Where do we put the 1 in it? It's got to go there. Where do we put the 2 in it? It's got to go there. The 3 has to go there because it can't go here. There's a 3 in the box already. The 4 goes here. The 5 cage, which is a line here, this cell can't be a 1, 2, 3, or 4, so it has to be a 5. Where does the 1 go? The 1 can only go here because these 1s rule out 1s from those 3 squares. Where does the 2 go? It can only go there. The 3 can only go there. The 4 can only go there. The 6 cage is a line as well. And this column, we've already looked at it once, has 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 in it now. So this is 6. Where does 1 go? Here. Where does 2 now go? Here. Where does... This is funny. Where does 3 go there? 4 goes here, 5 goes here, and this cage is done. Let's look at this cage. Where does 1 go in the 7 cage? Well, this one and this one between the two force it to be there. This row, of course, has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 in it, so the 7 must go here. That means the 6 goes here by the same logic. That's got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 in it. The 2 has to make an appearance, which can only be there because this 2 rules out that cell and this 2 rules out those 2 squares. 4 can only go here. So that's a 3, 5 pair, which we probably can resolve. I just can't see how immediately. No, sorry about that. I think I'm missing something, but never mind. Let's move on. We can look at the 8 cage now. Now, where do we look for the 8 cage? I can see this square has to be 7 or 8 immediately. In fact, where does 1 go? The 8 cage must have a 1 in it. Well, this one rules out those 4. These ones rule out those 2. That one rules out that one, so the 1 goes there. Now, is there any other 2? 2. Where does 2 go in the 8 cage? If we highlight all the 2s, you can see they basically lop off most of the cells apart from, I think, that one. Now, does that help us at all? I'm sure it does. 4, maybe? No. 3. Actually, 4 is restricted. Look, 4 can't go in those in those. 4 can only go here. So perhaps this is where we need to look. So we've still got to place 3 somewhere, which is going to have to be in one of... 3 has to be in one of these 2 squares, which is useful because... Well, actually, no, this 3 is seeing that one. Sorry, being slow. 3's got to go there, 3's got to go there. That fixes the 5. Now this column is replete with goodies because we only need 8 and 9 to place, and the 8 cell cage can't contain a 9 or it won't be a minimum. So the 9 goes there, the 8 goes here. That fixes this one as 7, and we're left with having to place 5 and 6, and you can see we can do that by using the 5 down there. And now what do we do? The 9 cell cage, we could look at that, obvious. Oh, we can, maybe 1s. That feels like it's 8 1s. It is 8 1s, so the last 1 must go there. 2 by Sudoku's got to go here. These 2 squares are an 8-9 pair. Now actually, now maybe we come back to the geometry, do we? Because if we look at this box, we have to place 5, 8 and 9 into these cells. But we know these 2 cells have to make an appearance somewhere. Whatever we put in these 2 cells have to make an appearance in box 3 somewhere, and they can't go in the same cage. So these 2 squares, you can see that, in fact, another way of thinking about this is, where does the 4 go in the 9 cage? It has to be one of the cells in the 9 cage. It can't be those 2, and it can't be these. So it must go there. That's a 4. Now these 2 have to be... in fact, that can't be 8, I'm seeing now. And these 2 are mirrors. Because whatever I put in this square can't go in any of these squares, so has to, and can't go in that square, so it has to go here. So the only digit that works there is 9. That gives us an 8 here. 5 must go here now, 5 goes here, 8 goes here. It's lovely, isn't it? It's not difficult, but it's lovely. Now this column needs, what's that, 7 and 9 into those 2 cells. We can probably do that, I just can't see how, so let's just carry on. 2 by Sudoku's got to go there, I think. That should finish the 2s, and does. Can we do anything with 3? Yeah, we can place 3 in the top box using this 3. This is a 6-7 pair. The 3 here limits... Yes, it does. It limits where 3 can go in box 6 to exactly that square. That gets us another digit in the grid. That gets us a 3 at the bottom. This row needs an 8 and a 9 in it, and there's a 9 here. So that can't be 9. That must be 8. That must be 9. That must be 9 by Sudoku. That must be 9 by Sudoku using this 9 and this 9. That's a 9 by Sudoku, not a 0. And I feel like we're actually doing quite well here all of a sudden. This has got to be a 7, because if we look along the row, we need 7 and 8, and there's an 8 there, which means this should be an 8. These 2 squares here have got to be 7 and 6, which we don't know yet, but that does mean this is a 4. If we'd looked at that earlier, we would have been able to see that. These 2 squares, these 2 squares are 6 and 8, look, to complete box 7. And the 6 is now pointing up there again, so 6 and 7 can go in. These 2 squares here should be 5 and 7, which I don't know if I can do that yet, but we'll pencil mark them in and move on. This column needs 4 and 6, we can do that. 4 and 6. 4 must go here. Maybe this column now. I think we could get there in a number of different ways. The only place 5 can go in this column is right at the bottom. So let's put the 5 in. This square is a 6 or a 7. These 2 squares are 5 and 8. Could probably do that as well, but I can't quite see how. This column still needs an 8 and a something in it. An 8. Oh, an 8 and a 9. That must be doable. Yeah, it is. 8 goes here, 9 goes here, 7 goes here. In fact, I'm now seeing I had all of that column done. It's funny the way my mind works. 6s and 7s into these two squares. That's doable. That fixes all of these. Look. 6, 7, 6, 8. This should be 8. That should be 8. That should be 6. That should be 7, 7, 6. And finally down here we can place 9 and 6. And I think that looks right. We click check. Looks good to me. That is how to solve Rocky Rower's puzzle. Absolutely. Oh, no, it's how to solve it, but I don't know the title of it. I've just realised. Hang on a moment. Hang on a minute. What is the title of this and why does it matter? Let me open the email. Sorry. Right, here we go. 9 Days of Christmas. Ah. Oh, I see. I see. That is because... Oh, this is a really elegant idea, isn't it? So each cage is like a verse of the song. So on the first day of Christmas, your true love gives to you a partridge in a pear tree. So the one appears just once in box 1. In box 2, the partridge makes its second appearance. And then what is it? Two turtle doves, is it? And a partridge. Yeah, 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree. So you get a 1 and a 2 in box 2. You get the 3 French hens in box 3, the 4 calling birds in box 4, the 5 gold rings down there, the 6 geese are laying, 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and the partridge in the pear tree in box 6. Then we get 7, I'm not going to remember, 6 geese, so 7 swans are swimming, maybe? 7 swans are swimming, 6 geese are laying. I am going to try and get these now. This is like a quiz question. 8, therefore, up here. 8 maids are milking. 8 maids are milking. 7. Yeah, 8 maids are milking. 9 lords are leaping. Or 9 ladies. No, 9 ladies dancing. I'm not sure. 9 somethings. 8 something else's, etc. So I remember it's 12 drummers drumming. 12 drummers drumming, 11 pipers piping. I think it's lords are leaping then, 9 ladies dancing. So 9 days of Christmas, because obviously we can't put the 10, 11 and 12 days in because there aren't 10, 11 and 12 in a Sudoku. But it's a gorgeous idea, and I can see why actually Rocky Rower said there would be a spoiler in the title, because if it was called 9 Days of Christmas, you might immediately lock in on the idea that each cage has to be a minimum and contain, the sequential digits 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Beautiful. Love it. Absolutely love it. Hope you guys enjoyed it too. Let me know in the comments. I always read them. And we'll be back later on, of course, with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.